Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to just be doing a quick, easy video, just a little chat. So I recently rejoined my library. I don't think I've actually ever spoken about me and libraries like in a video, but I have definitely mentioned it on streams. The town where I grew up, it is pretty small, not the biggest library, but it was like really good for kids. Like there was a lot of kids books when I was growing up, so I used it a lot. There was not a lot of young adult books, and so didn't really use it as much as a teen. And then also my school library, which has nothing to do with like the actual library system, it was completely run by our school, accused me of stealing a book for like 3 years straight, and I got kind of fed up of it. I did not steal the book. I returned Catching Fire, guys. I returned it! Years ago when I started watching BookTube and I heard people talking about like Libby, Overdrive, all of I decided to check it out, and my library did not do it. And so I left it. And more recently I went back and checked again, and they have started doing it. I think they actually started doing it before the whole 2020 situation. So they've actually been doing it quite a while and I just didn't pay attention. I went up and I got myself a library card, and I went on a little bit of a spree on the app. So obviously ebooks and audiobooks, and I'm going to just be telling you today what I have added to my reading list. There's quite a few. I think there's about 40 books, because it's kind of like shopping but without actually having to spend money. And so a lot of these books I don't know the most about. A lot of them are like genres maybe that I don't read from, or books that I'm like not sure I will enjoy. And so like they've been really hyped, but I'm like, I'm not sure will I enjoy it. And so yeah, so I've added a lot of those kind of as a, hey, now I don't have to worry about buying it and wasting my money. So let's get into it. So first we're gonna go through the audiobooks I added to my reading list, and I haven't actually loaned any of these. I have just added them to my reading list because I have a TBR I have to stick to. Also, this is going to be in like no order. I don't have it divided up into like, oh, here's the fantasies. Like, no, it's just the order that I added them in. So, but the first three do actually have something in common, and that's that they're middle grades. I'll talk about the first two together because those are Dark Waters and Dead Voices by Katherine Arden. And I can't remember which one is which. I think Dead Voices is first and then Dark Waters, but I could be wrong. And so those are two audiobooks. As I said, they're by Katherine Arden. This is a part of the Small Spaces series, and I read that as an ebook, and I absolutely adored the Bear and the Nightingale trilogy, and I liked Small Spaces. Like, it was pretty creepy for a kid's book. So I definitely will continue it, and maybe the audiobook will, you know, add something even creepier to it. We'll see. And then the other middle grade that I saved was Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crowe. This one, I have really wanted to read this book, but I never had access to it, and I don't really buy middle grades, probably because I'm afraid I won't like them. And so I always kind of just read the ones that are available on SCRIBD, and this never has been. So I've kind of just left it, but I've always like really wanted to give it a try. And so when I went on and I saw it there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna add it, and I'm definitely gonna read it sometime soon, hopefully. And as we continue on, it's kind of more kind of genres that I'm not really used to. So Salt to the Sea by Rucha Species. So this is a historical fiction. I think, if I'm thinking right, this is the one that follows the shipwreck during World War II. I can't remember what the ship was called, but I do know what like the history behind it, and it was actually, I think, is it like the biggest, like most fatalities ever, I think, or something like that. And so I'm sure it's going to be absolutely devastating, but this is one of those ones like I heard talked about so often. Like, it was probably like 2 or 3 years ago now, but I remember hearing it talked about so often that like it destroyed people and all of this, and I was like, ooh. But I don't really read historical fiction, so when I saw it I was like, okay, maybe now's the time that I finally get to it. A bit late to the party, but whatever. And the next one is Verona Comics by Jennifer Dugan. This one is because of Maddie from Book Browsing Blog. This one I believe is a YA contemporary, which again, not really my genre. I don't read a lot of it. I do occasionally pick them up, and as I said, this is one that I've heard Maddie say brilliant things about, so I want to give it a go. Then the next one is More Than This by Patrick Ness, and this is one that I might actually buy because I've started reading more Patrick Ness. I've read the Chaos Walking trilogy, which I gave I think 4, 5 and 5, and then I read And the Rest of Us Just Live Here, and I gave that a 3 out of 5 stars. So, you know, mixed bag so far. But this one I've heard really good things about. I've heard good things about most of his books in fairness, so I want to try and read more, and so I might buy it. But if I do decide to buy it, I mean, I can still listen along with audiobook, and I think this one might be kind of sci-fi, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Marissa really likes this. Marissa from Genre Garden. Any of the people I mentioned I will link down below. So then the next one that I have saved is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, and this one, I mean, I feel like this one I added because for years Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction has been saying that she wants to do a read along of this series, because I think she read the first one, really loved it, and then never continued, and supposedly the last book is really like you'll love it or hate it. And so she still, every so often she says one day I might, but she has kind of just like piqued my interest on the series anyway, so like if she ever does read a thon, I'll have it there, and if not, I might get to it before then. So then we have Shadow Black by Sebastian de Castell. This one I have because I read the first one, Spellslinger, in January. It was my first book of the year, wasn't it? Yes, and I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, so it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but there was definitely like elements of it that I really enjoyed, and supposedly the audiobooks are brilliant. So when I saw it there, I was like, okay, I'll add it, and that way I'll give the second book a go definitely, and if like that one is still kind of a 3-star, then I think I might leave the series. But supposedly the narrator is absolutely brilliant, and I did check and they do not have the, I don't know where Trader's Blade is, they do not have those as audiobooks, so I know it's the same narrator and supposedly they're also brilliant, but that one will have to be physical. Then the next one is Dark Rise by C.S. Pakash, and this one is just because I really like the cover. Because I've seen it in person, and like I don't think it's gotten the best reviews. I think it's been a lot of like 3, 4 stars I've seen. Like I don't see people absolutely loving it, but I don't see people absolutely hating it either. So I'm like not sure will I ever read it, but every time I go into a bookshop and see the cover, I'm like, so I'll give it a go, and then if I like it, I can actually buy it. Which I know that kind of defeats the purpose of joining a library if you're going to just buy the books after you read them, but that's just how I am, okay? Then we have The Saw Kill Girls by Claire Legrand, and if you see, I have 2 Claire Legrand books there, and I also have Fury Born, which is the first book in the series, and I really enjoyed Fury Born. I give that a 4 out of 5 stars, and this one is completely different. Saw Kill Girls, I believe, is a thriller, mystery, whatever, and again, another one I feel like I've heard pretty positive things, but supposedly it's really weird, and so I'm curious to see like a different genre, like so different. Then I added Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This one is like, again, another YA contemporary, I believe, but it's like supposedly really hard hitting, and I think it follows like someone who's been accused of killing their child. I don't know who I heard about it from, but Tiffany D. Jackson is a pretty popular author anyway. And speaking of Tiffany D. Jackson, I did also add Monday's Not Coming, which again, another really hard hitting YA contemporary. Again, another one, I think it's about someone's friend going missing and nobody seems to care, and our main character is the only one who seems worried. And then back to another Patrick Ness, and that is A Monster Calls, and this one, again, another really hard hitting one. Supposedly everyone cries at it, can't wait. But this is probably his most popular book, the one that's most read, and I've been saying for years that I'm going to read it, and I keep putting it off because I know that everyone is devastated by it, and I'm like, number 1, I don't want to be devastated. Number 2, what if I'm like the one person who doesn't like it? Then I added The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This one, I'm conflicted whether I want to read this because it's supposedly a dystopian, and I typically do not like dystopians. So yeah, I'm unsure. Try and sway me. But again, that's another one that's like Ashley from Frolic Through Fiction influence, because I know she loves that series, so I think it's her favorite series of all time. The next two I have saved are The Memory of Souls and The House of Always by Jen Lyons. And these ones I actually probably will physically read before I get the audiobooks, because I did actually reserve the two of these because they're both out. And I started The Memory of Souls like last week and I haven't continued, and now it's the final book support group, so I'm reading something else for it. But I've heard really good things about the audiobooks for them, and I always struggle to get into the books. Like, I absolutely adore this series, but I always find the first like 100-ish pages are really hard to get into, and I've been physically reading the first two, so I'm like, maybe the audiobook would help me get into it, and then like I can, you know, mix and match them. So I might be able to listen to The Memory of Souls, but The House of Always, actually the audiobook isn't available until like May, and I kind of want to read it in April before the final book comes out. So yeah, don't think that's gonna happen. The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. I have read the first book in the series, obviously A Deadly Education, and I'm waiting for the paperback to come out, and I'll probably actually, this is another one that I'm actually probably gonna physically read, because I am just that person who, I just saw it and I saved it, but I'm actually probably going to physically read it because they're pretty short and pretty quick to read, and I read the first one physically, so I'll probably continue that way. But I'm waiting for the paperback, and so I just saved it. Maybe, like, who knows, maybe the mood will hit me and I'm like, this is the series I really want to read right now. I also kind of saved it because I'm like, well, supposedly it ends on a cliffhanger, and so then when the third book comes out, read that on audiobook pretty quick. Are The Girl in Red by Christina Henry. I've read one Christina Henry, which was Lost Boy. I really loved it. The Girl in Red is a Red Riding Hood retelling, and as I said, I've read Lost Boy. That was a Peter Pan retelling, and I absolutely loved it, though I think that one is the one that has the most positive reviews anyway. And also I think The Girl in Red is a bit of a dystopian, so again, I mightn't read this one, but I'm intrigued by her other books. Also, I have one of her books right there. I have Near the Bone, so maybe, who knows which one I'll get to first. You're going to see a lot more of her in the ebook section. And then the very last one is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. This one is from Meg with Books. She adores this series. And again, another one that the audiobooks are supposedly great because it has like full cast, I'm pretty sure. So I think it's like historical fiction based on the like literature characters of the time, but it's like their daughters. So then ebooks. So yeah, we still have a lot more to go. I added The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. So this one I added for one particular reason, and that is Realm of the Readathon, and that is happening in April. Number one, thrillers are pretty quick to read anyway. And then number two, it is one of Cassidy's favorites, so I can get some bonus points. So that is literally the only reason I saved this book, because I actually don't really care about reading his books, but bonus points. I have The Falling in Love montage by Kira Smith, and this one is a YA contemporary. It is sapphic, it is Irish. I know Teresa really loves it, and I think Christy gave it a 3.5, which doesn't make me feel the best about it, but we just disagree on everything when it comes to reading, so maybe I will love it. Then we have Wicked As You Wish by Chapeko. I have read The Never Tilting World, The Ever Cruel Kingdom, and the first book of The Bone Witch. I have the second and third one there, and I have really loved their books so far. The Bone Witch was a 4-star, whereas like the Never Tilting World and Ever Cruel Kingdom, both 5 stars, and those were more recent, and I think Wicked As You Wish is also more recent, so I'm hoping that maybe this one will be like higher than The Bone Witch. Then we have Crown of Feathers by Nikki Papredo. This is one that Em reads romance she loves, and yeah, I think the final book is out, so I can just binge a whole trilogy if I really want. This is one that I've like been really tempted to pick up a few times, but something always stops me, and so maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, maybe I'll continue to put it off forever. We have Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is one that was popular like probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and again, it's another historical fiction. I think it has the gods telling a story of, is it 1 or 2 couples in like World War II, so I'm sure that's gonna be sad. But it was like so many people's favorite, and like I feel like maybe 2019, maybe 2020, I can't remember, but like it was so many people's favorites, or like on their favorite list, and so even though most of those people have very different tastes from me, I'm like, but I should give it a go anyway. Then we have The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White. This one, I am always so intrigued by it, but almost everyone I've ever seen give it 3 stars, which 3 stars is not a bad rating. But I don't want to spend my money on a book that I'm pretty sure is going to be a 3-star, but also just like the way people describe it, I'm like, but what if I'm the one that's different? So I added it to my reading list. Maybe I will give it a go. And as far as I know, a lot of people's problem with it is kind of like the writing style. So like, now I'm prepared for a weird writing style. Maybe I won't mind it. Then we have Dig by A.S. King. So this one is totally one that I've gotten from Books and Lala. It follows potato farmers as far as I know, and it's all about like the different generations of this family. And it sounds really weird. It supposedly is really weird, which again, not really the things I read. I'm, you know, a fantasy gal. This one is like fabulism, contemporary, family stuff. Not my usual thing. I have The Martian by Andy Weir. I know so many people love this book, but I haven't really read a lot of sci-fi, and I'm not really sure do I care about reading that much sci-fi, but so many people adore this book that I'm like, I'm gonna give it a go maybe, question mark. Leads on to my next one, which is another sci-fi book, and that is Sleeping Giants by Sylvan Nouvelle. And again, this is another one that I've heard like brilliant things about the first book, but supposedly the series goes downhill from there. It's like something about like this weird giant, and one day like this girl like falls into like its hand, and it's like, what the hell is this? And when she grows up, she's like one of the scientists working on it to figure out what the hell it is, which sounds really cool. But as I said, I don't read a lot of sci-fi. We have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Another one that purely because of hype, like so many people love this, so many people's favorite book, but I don't really care about like really flowery writing, like a slow moving story. Like when I hear that it's like about magicians battling, and it's like, oh, it's not really about that though. I kind of want to know what everyone's talking about. This is basically the point of the whole video. I don't want to spend my money on stuff, but I really want to know what everyone's talking about. Then I have Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, and I'm actually probably going to read this as an audiobook. I imagine it will be on SCRIBD because that's how I read The House on the Cerulean Sea, and I like that. It wasn't anything like fantastic, which I know a lot of people disagree with me on. Like, it's people's favorite book of all time, and I like it, but I don't think it was anything like that amazing. But yeah, so I listened to the audiobook for that, and so I'll probably listen to the audiobook for this if I can get my hands on it. I'm not sure is it on SCRIBD or not, but I'll see at some point. Then, as I said earlier, I was going to get back to more Christina Henry, and so this is The Ghost Tree. I think this might be her most recent release, and as I said, I just want to like try some more of her books because I've given a book from her 5 stars, and I now own a second one, and I'm probably going to read that next month. I want to try more of her books because like I really liked her writing and I liked her characters. Yeah, and I really loved Lost Boy. It was so good. It was like one of my favorite books of like 2018, 2019. I can't remember, but before I was on BookTube anyway. Then we have The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This one I'm so afraid of. It's so big. It is so big. But also I think I would like it because it's dragons. As far as I know, it's sapphic. It's big. But also it's big. So yeah, do I want to read it? I also have Temer by Naomi Novik, and this one is like, it's a pretty long series. I think it's maybe like 7-ish books, and this, I think, one of like Naomi Novik's first things that she wrote, which like as far as I know it is pretty well loved, but it just isn't really talked about as much as like Uprooted, Spinning Silver, Deadly Education, probably because it's older. But yeah, as far as I know it is pretty well loved. So, I mean, since I'm making my way through her books. Then I have A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. And this one I added because it was an Illumicrate book. And the cover that they had was really pretty. And I was like, maybe I want to try this book. So that is literally the only reason why it was added in here. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to come back to more Christina Henry. And so I basically added all of her retellings. So we have The Girl in Red, The Mermaid, Alice, and The Red Queen. So we have all 4 of those also added to it. And as I said, Lost Boy, absolutely adore that book. And it does terrify me that people say it's her best book, but usually that's when talking about like the retellings. I've heard really good things about Near the Bone, so I'm hoping that one seems to be like one of the other ones that people are like, oh, this is like one of her best books. So I'm kind of scared that I'm going to read her 2 best books first and then just be reading like 3 stars or whatever, but I'm gonna give them a go. So that brings us to the end of this video. Like, tell me which of these I should prioritize if you have any opinions on that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.